guest, Katie Walker from
Hi.
King Arthur Flour. Glad to meet you.
Happy to be here.
What are we cooking today?
So we're going to be making maple walnut biscotti.
That terrible. Sounds terrible.
It's terrible if you don't like to have sweets in the morning and afternoon.
Do I
dinner.
look like I don't like to have sweets?
No, you look good. You look like you'll enjoy this.
All right, fair enough. So how do we get started? And then we'll go into, all the ins and outs of King
Sure.
Arthur. But let's get started on this recipe because
Sure.
it's a hot one.
Yeah, so biscotti is actually really easy to make. It's
Okay.
very family friendly. And I bet you have a lot of the stuff in your pantry already. So it's not like you have to go out and buy exotic ingredients.
I think if you look at my pantry, we pretty much have everything. We always buy extra stuff that we never use. So maybe we can finally use it up in biscotti.
Yeah, maybe. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with putting our sugars. So we have half a cup of granulated sugar and half a cup of brown sugar.
Okay, I know a lot of baking recipes use like the half and half. Why?
It just gives it a little bit more flavor
Okay.
profile, make it stand out a little bit more.
Okay.
So we're gonna put that sugar in there,
All right.
and we are going to also add pure Vermont maple syrup,
Of course.
1/4 of a cup.
Of course. And what do you guys use? You use like medium amber?
Yeah,
dark?
this is a medium amber.
Okay. Which is now, I don't even think you're allowed to say
Yeah,
medium
it's-
amber in the state. You have to call it something else like medium super robusty cool.
It's the best.
It's the best.
So, and then we also have this nice little Vermont flavoring. What happens is when you bake with maple syrup, it kind of bakes out.
Okay.
So we add more maple flavor to it just so you can really get that pronounced.
To really intensify it.
Yeah. So we added the maple flavoring, and that's optional, of course. And then,
Well, we like to add as much maple as humanly possible. It is a wonderful agricultural product from the fine state of Vermont. So,
yep. And then 2 large eggs go in.
okay. Beautiful looking eggs there.
Yep, those are also local Vermont eggs. All right, so what we're gonna do is you're gonna put the mixer and we're just gonna stir it a little bit.
Okay.
Just have it going. And when it gets all combined together,
So while that's mixing, where does the term biscotti come from? Because
yeah, sure. So biscotti is actually the Italian word. Bis means twice.
I would have thought bis meant like biscuit.
No, means twice, and cotti means cooked.
Perfect.
So biscotti is twice cooked.
Okay, because you bake it like in a loaf, and then you cut it, and then you bake it one more
Exactly.
time to make it.
But if you go to Italy and
Okay.
you see biscotti, that's what they call cookies there.
Okay.
So it could be, they might call chocolate chip cookies there chocolate chip biscotti. But in
Right.
America, we've learned to make it as a twice baked.
That's what we do in America. We make our own.
We make it
names.
our own. So that look is looking good. It's looking a little grainy. And what we're gonna do now is add 1/3 of a cup of melted butter.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna put it down the side. And what you're gonna wanna do is I'm gonna increase this just a little bit. And when it gets to the point where it is smooth, we're gonna be able to add our other dry ingredients.
Okay.
So at this point, you don't have to really worry about over mixing.
Okay.
Just but visual. When you start to see the granules of the sugar
Yeah.
kind of melting into the mix, you're good to go. So this looks pretty good. I'm gonna turn the mixer off now, and I'm gonna turn it down. And so what we have here is I've already pre-mixed it, but we have our 2.5 cups of King Arthur flour, unbleached all-purpose flour,
Big surprise there.
best flour in the nation.
It honestly is. I mean, I back in the days when I used to cook, I remember a pastry chef. This is like back in the '90s, and he was like, "King Arthur, best flour ever." He's right. Like it really is an incredible product that you guys make. It holds up better than everything. Makes the best bread, best doughs, best cookies. It really is that much different.
Well, we've been around for 226 years.
So you've been doing something right.
We know what we're doing. We select our wheat for the qualities that we're looking for. We have very high standards. And we've never bleached or bromated, which means adding chemicals to our flour. So it's always been natural.
A nice clean product.
Yeah. So we have 2.5 cups of King Arthur all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt.
All right.
I typically use kosher salt.
I'm a big kosher salt too.
Yeah.
The whole iodized, the word iodized just freaks me out a little
And
bit.
I think it just gives it a little bit better flavor profile too.
Yeah.
So I have a big mixer here. So I'm gonna put all of it in here.
Okay.
But am I gonna turn it on really quickly and high?
Not unless we want to see a giant snowstorm.
Yeah. And I don't really want to get snowed today. I'm looking forward to this the spring in Vermont.
I know.
Even though we didn't have much snow this year.
Well, you know, right now, I mean, sap's running. I hear pretty much everybody in the show today is like, I got to get out there. You know, syrup's flowing. We gotta roll.
So I also have, I'm going to be putting in toasted walnuts. Do you know why I toast them beforehand?
No, tell us.
So the reason I toast them beforehand is it brings out the flavor.
Okay.
Nuts don't taste as well when you don't toast them.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Are you going to, but you don't want to use on the frying pan on the stove because
Okay.
they'll burn too quickly.
All right.
So you want to take a nice sheet pan like this, put it on a single layer at 350 and put it in the oven for about 8 to 10 minutes.
How do you know when it's kind of done?
It has like a golden texture. If
Okay.
it gets burnt or it's too dark, it's going to have a bitter taste.
Yeah,
and nobody wants that.
Not into
but
bitter.
Here, why don't you try, let's see.
All right.
Why don't you try an untoasted walnut and tell me what you think. It's good.
It's really mild, but it's got kind of that funky aftertaste. that
Right,
raw
all right.
nut aftertaste.
And here, I'll give you a toasted one.
All right. It's drier. It's just better. Yeah, nice and nutty.
Yeah.
It's a nutty. It's really nutty. No,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just darker flavor, richer, eats on the palate better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely want to always toast your nuts before you put them into baked goods. All right, so we're also going to add those in. Oh, lost my lid there.
It's all right. I'm sure we'll find it.
All right, so here we go. We're just going to mix this together. I'm going to start off a little bit slowly, and this takes no time at all.
Okay.
And what you're going to do, what you're going to look for is when the dough comes together.
Okay.
Basically, it's kind of harder to over-mix biscotti dough. But
It
again,
doesn't have a whole lot of liquid, so it's not going to develop like that super chewy gluten.
right.
Okay.
And so this is an unleavened dough, and the reason why too that it's drier was because back in the Roman times, they invented biscotti so that the Roman soldiers, when they were going out to battle, they had something that they could keep with them.
Yes.
So theirs probably tasted like hockey pucks, but our biscotti here can keep for a week,
Wow.
week and a half in an airtight container.
That's pretty
What
good.
I recommend though is keep it out in room temperature, because if you put it in the refrigerator or freezer, moisture will come out and your biscotti will get
Yeah, like if you ever
soggy.
leave anything unwrapped in your fridge, it tastes like your fridge. And I've got like guanciale in my fridge. I've got a whole bunch of stuff you don't want to taste in mine.
So this is where the fun part is. I'm
All
going to
right.
ask you to grab that red spatula over
Okay.
here. This is a great new tool we just introduced to our catalog in our store. Who's ever had a mixer before and they're having trouble
You
getting
know
off
what?
the...
I do this all the time, and it's
You end up eating a lot of it
I
instead
know,
of getting in the
but
bowl,
is
right?
that so bad? That's the whole point of having a mixer.
I know. But so this gets more of your product actually in the bowl, so I really like it.
I think it's a nice product, but I'm a little hesitant not to lick
Yeah.
the spatula.
So what we're also going to do now is this, where I'm going to get your help.
All right,
So what I'm going to want you to do is wet your hands.
I can do that.
So just a little cold water.
Okay.
And the reason why is because this dough is pretty sticky. Now, depending on how big you want your biscotti is going to be how big you're going to make your loaf. But if you can see, I made a nice big sticks of biscotti because I like a big cup of coffee to dunk it in.
I like a big biscotti just so I can say I'm just having one.
That's a good, I haven't thought about that. I can use that. So I'm gonna have you go here and dump this out onto the
All right.
parchment paper.
And by the way, people who don't have like this pastry spatula, what is this thing
This
called?
is our dough scraper.
Oh my God, you got to get one.
It saves you in the winter time.
Yeah.
You can use it as
It's like
ice
that,
scraper.
a Y spatula and this. If you don't own it, it'll
Yeah.
be the best $5 that you've ever spent in your life.
What you're gonna do is you're gonna keep it down there.
Okay.
Let me just move this over to the side. What you're gonna do is you're gonna make it into a rectangle with your wet hand. So you're gonna push it down. There you go. And you want to keep it even, about a half of an inch deep, because you want to be able to have it cook all at the same time.
All right. This is surprisingly easy. To tell you the truth, I've never actually made biscotti.
Well, I bet you're gonna make it
I bet
all
I am
the time
now. I bet I know a couple kids at home who are going to make biscotti. And they're probably going to be like, Daddy, Daddy, where's my biscotti? All
So
right.
that looks good. And then
Okay.
you can just kind of take this nifty tool and see, now that your hands are wet and we have a towel over there,
Perfect.
the
You
dough
got
doesn't
everything.
stick to your hands. All right. So another great maple product that we have at King Arthur Flour is our pure maple sugar.
And as Vermonters, you are literally born in our fine hospitals, and they sprinkle it on your head, so everybody's very
It's like
familiar.
fairy dust in Vermont.
It really is pretty good.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you take 1 tablespoon and
All right.
sprinkle it over the top. You be liberal. And we also have sparkling sugar. People are more familiar with using that. That gives a little bit.
No sparkling sugar, just maple sugar. All right, and then in the oven?
All right, yep. So
All
this
right.
is going to go in the oven at 350 for 30 minutes.
That's like the world's largest tablespoon. It just kept going and going and going. All right.
All
so
right.
we put it into our magic oven?
Yeah, we're going to put it into the oven.
All right, wow, it's already done.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how do you know it's done? It's going to be golden in color.
It's beautiful.
And when you touch it, it will spring back a little bit.
Okay.
This has been ready. So what happens now is your biscotti is made, nice loaf. I keep it a little rustic. Some people might want to put it in a pan, but then it doesn't look as homemade, right?
No, this is much better, freeform.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is we're going to get a serrated knife here.
Okay.
So here's a great tip. Serrated knife is great for biscotti. You want to cut it on a 45-degree angle.
Okay.
But you might notice when you do have nuts and some other bigger things in your biscotti, it might break the cookie a little bit.
Okay.
So you can always use like a bench knife or a flat edge knife. So we're going to just cut. Maybe you could be a gentleman and
I'm good.
use your muscles. We'll
I
have
don't know
you cut
about
it.
that, but I will cut at a 45-degree angle.
And we'll have you cut a couple of those.
All right.
Just so you can kind of see.
That's smart on the whole angle thing. All right.
Yeah, that helps it give it the classic look. All right, so
All right.
that's good.
And we got some pre-done, right?
Yep, and we have
All right.
some that's in the oven over on this side that you can pull out.
Okay.
So, there's 2 styles to double baking your biscotti. Some people like to have it all up like this so that they don't have to rotate it. I personally don't like that.
You're a
because
rotator.
I'm a rotator because I don't want my biscotti to get too dark
Yeah.
on one side. So what we're going to do is I like to also turn the oven down a little bit because
Okay.
you want to cook it still, but you want to dry it out. And you don't want to get too brown. So I turn my oven down to about 300. You can see it's not cooked all the way through.
Right, right.
And what we'll do is we'll put it in the oven and then check on it in about 10 minutes, see how it's doing, and then flip it over to the other side.
That's perfect. So if we did all that stuff, we'd end up with this, right?
Well, we would.
Because I've been trying to get to this part where we get to eat this part.
Are you ready to try some?
I'm ready to try some.
All right. A whole one?
I'll try half, you try half, okay?
All right.
All right.
There you go.
Cheers to you.
Cheers.
All right. It's a heck of good biscotti.
It's sweet, but not
Yeah.
too sweet.
No, but it's delicious.
It's great with a coffee.
If I was Roman, I would go to war for this.